Joining us today on All American Mates is a very special guest, especially if you're a golfing fan like myself. He's a winner of the US Open back in 2005. He's the world match play champion. He took down his national open. He's got wins on the Australasian Tour, the European Tour, over there in Asia, and he's famously known as the great man who tamed Tiger Woods at the peak of his powers on a Sunday in a major championship. It's the man, it's the myth, it's the mate, professional golfer Michael Campbell. Cambo, how are you, mate? Do you ever get tired of hearing about that US Open?
Never. I mean, that never gets old on me. But yes, it's been 20 years ago now. And, all those 20 years ago, I remember a lot of things that went on that day and obviously my whole career. But I'm very proud of that moment and how I managed to win that week or that day against Tiger was definitely special. So, yeah, it's always nice to remember.
Mike, going back to where it all began, New Zealand, humble beginnings, for the people viewing this one or listening today, Australia's a small country. Sydney's a small city within it, 5 million people. New Zealand, total population right around that. How did you find your way, I guess, into the sport of golf as a young fella?
Yeah, it was a tough culture for me because if you think about it, this is back in the 70s and 80s, right? I started playing golf and for a Māori person to play golf was very unusual. And obviously we played rugby league. That was it really. We're renowned to be good players in that kind of category of sport. And yeah, so I started playing golf, tried rugby for like 10 years, wasn't good enough, big enough, strong enough to play. So I thought I'll play golf, and it was tough because there weren't very many Māoris that played golf. So it was a very difficult situation I was in, but I wanted to play golf as a career, and since I was 12 years old, I got brought up on a very in the country, and the golf course was a sheep farm where I started playing at 6 years old. My father cut down a 6-iron, left-handed actually, for the first 2 years of my started playing golf, left-handed for 2 years. I had one club, 4 balls, had no tees. So, this golf course had sheep everywhere, shit everywhere, fences around the greens. That was my upbringing, and that's my very humble beginnings. And but I had a dream to be a professional golfer and win a major, and it came true. 20 years ago. So it was a tough. It was tough. It was tough to break down those barriers, but I used it as more of a positive kind of thing. And yes, people around me were doubters, a lot of doubters, because there's no Māori professional golfers on tour. All we had back in the day when I was playing was Frank Nobilo and Greg Turner, and Bob Charles obviously won the Open back in '63. So yeah, it was a tough environment. But, I thought, why not give it a go? And here I am. I'm 57 years old now, and look back at my career, and it's pretty decent. You always want to achieve more in your golfing career, or any career really, whether it's golf or not. But I can be pretty pleased with what I've achieved so far.
Yeah, I'd say it's a decent looking resume for Michael Campbell in the professional landscape. To say it's been decent, that's a complete undersell. So I feel like adversity, mental fortitude, it's been a common thing since those young days back in New Zealand. You took to the game, you had massive aspirations, but between picking up a golf club and the highest of highs, winning a US Open, at what point through your teenage years, junior tournaments, amateur tournaments, are you thinking, hey, not only am I good enough to win events here in New Zealand, but maybe I could go across the pond and mix it with some of the best, not only in Europe but on a world stage?
Yeah, it was a gradual thing. I think when I started taking up golf seriously as a 15, 16 years old, because if you think about it, being a Kiwi boy, always loved being outdoors and played 5 different sports at the same time. Played basketball, tennis, rugby, softball, bit of golf. But golf wasn't the back burner a little bit for me. And then my parents said to me one day, look, Michael, just choose at least 1 or 2 sports, because they felt like taxi drivers, because every day was a practice day. Practice on Mondays was rugby, Tuesdays was softball, Wednesdays was something else. I was always just practicing other sports. And when I focused on one sport, when I was probably about 13, 14, that's when things started changing for me. And I started winning a few junior events around Wellington when I was 15, 16. And then 18, I started winning tournaments around New Zealand. And then as I got older, 1920, I started playing in Australia. I won the Australian Amateur Championship actually at Royal Adelaide back in 1990, I think it was. So I pretty much dominated Australasia. Then we went to the World Championship, the Eisenhower Trophy in 92 at Canada. We won that. So it was the first time that New Zealand won the World Amateur Championship. And I came second as an individual. So in 92, I thought, okay, well, this is it. I've reached the peak of amateur golf, and it's time to move on to professional golf. And then I played in 93, was my first full year as a pro, and I played in Australasia and won my first tournament very quickly. I think it was my fifth tournament I played and I won. So, you could say I caught the lift to the top very quickly. Some guys take the stairs, but I went there very quickly to the top of professional ranks. And then I decided to take on the best in the world in Europe. So I went to the European Tour back in 1993, I think it was, 94 maybe. Back in those days, that's when top players in the world was Greg Norman, Nicky Price, Langer, Seve, Lyle, Woosnam. All the greats were the top 10 in the world. I played 7 events, excuse me, 7 events over there and got my butt kicked. Wasn't good enough. No, I was good enough to play in Australasia, but I wasn't good enough to play against the best players in the world. So I came back, started practicing harder and worked harder, went to the gym and worked out and did everything. Came over again in 95 and my first full year on tour, on the European Tour in 95, and finished fifth on the Automatic. Nearly won the Open, finished third there in the Open at St Andrews. Missed by one shot. John Daly and Rocker were in the playoff. Once again, in the space of 2 years, I had a lot of success. And then from there on, I won, I think, 15 times around the world, including the major top tournament. So, yes, so you come across adversity, as you said before, you come across difficulties, but it's how you look at them. I think it's your attitude towards it. Because, I was confronted with a lot of adversity when I was growing up in New Zealand because, we aren't supposed to play golf, the Māori people. And people ask me, what's your reason to play golf? And my reason was to prove to the world that Māori can play golf. And that's pretty powerful, right? So that's the reason why I took that pathway. So here I am now, reflecting on those things and what made me the player I was back in the day. And, yes, there were a lot of people on the way to help me out, for a lot of people, mentors, coaches, psychologists, fitness instructors, you name it. I couldn't do it by myself. I needed help, moral support, natural support. It's a tough business, man. And it's difficult. It's very, 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 very hard to keep on top and keep on winning and beat the best in the world. And I managed to do that a couple of times.
It truly is amazing stuff. And, a lot of people look towards that 2005 US Open, but, one thing that just stood out, we take it back, 10 years prior, and you've got the lead in the Open Championship going into Sunday. It's a famous victory for John Daly. It's 10 years of not getting back to that stage, but to finding the heights of a victory in the US Open. I guess, who was that guiding force for you back in 1995? And how do you take, a loss like that and fuel it to say, Michael, you still got this. You are certainly capable of being one of the best in the world. It just wasn't meant to be this Sunday, but that time is going to come.
Absolutely. Once again, you always learn more from you when you fail. And I failed that day, but I looked at it as a very positive kind of manner situation where I thought, okay, I'm good enough to actually win a major, but it wasn't my time. It wasn't my time to shine. It wasn't my time to win a major. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready mentally, physically, yes. I could go there and play against the best players in the world, but didn't have the mental fortitude. Because that first, I'll never forget, 10 off at 2:35 in the afternoon with Rocco in the last group in a major tournament. It's my first year, full year on tour, and I had no mental tools in my toolbox, I call it. So I didn't fail. If someone told me at the start of the week, Michael, you're going to finish third, or Michael, you're going to lead the Open by 3 shots after 3 rounds and finish third, of course I'll take that. So, you've got to kind of have a reverse psychology almost and take away the positives, which I did. So from then, I started reading books about psychology, hired a psychologist, and then I got, after that, I won, I think, 10 times between finishing third at the Open in 95 to winning my first major in 2005. Yeah, it was a learning curve, as you always do. You can't learn it until you experience those kind of when you fail like that. But to me, I turned it around completely and just said to myself, okay, I wasn't ready, but my time will come. And it's all about patience. You got to be patient out there because look at Rory. Look what Rory did. I'm not comparing myself to Rory McIlroy, not even close, but look at what he's done. He waited a long time. I think 11 years until he won his next tournament, next major. Sorry, so to complete the Grand Slam, right? So 11 years is a long time to wait, but he did it, man. And that's one thing I really admire about Rory. How he did that, and it's the same with my situation too, in a very smaller scale. But I waited 10 years until I finally got one. So people got to understand that a good percentage of winning tournaments. I think Tiger and Jack Nicklaus were the highest at 25%. So they failed 75%. My track record was 2%. So I won 2% of my tournaments. And that's considered as a good career. I remember seeing the figures because a friend of mine sends me all these stats. He's quite funny. And Mickelson was 9%, and Ernie Els was like around the same figure. But hey, it's a sport that you fail more times than you succeed. So you've got to understand that. And once you understand that it's every week you don't win, but as long as you learn something from that week, could be anything. That's most important.
It's fantastic insight you bring there, Michael. So you take the lessons learned from '95. Let's cut forward. 10 years. You're bigger. You're faster. You've been known to have one of the best athletic golf swings that we've seen the past 20 plus years. I feel like it's one of the first movements of its kind. But not only is Pinehurst waiting for you at the U.S. Open in 2005, we're up against it going into the final round. Retief Goosen's got the lead going into the fourth and final. But so too, right there in the thick of it, is the big cat, Tiger Woods, at the peak of his power. He's wearing that Sunday red. So take us back to that Sunday morning for Michael Campbell. What's, the self-talk going into this one, and how you're not overawed by that situation?
Well, I think it was a great scenario for me if you think about it, because so Retief Goosen was leading by 3 shots, I think, or 4 shots. And I was coming third at the time after 3 rounds, and Retief won the year before. So he was defending champion. So I kind of said to myself at the beginning of the day, okay, top three, I'll be happy. Top three, and I'm happy with that. And then had the big cat, as you say, Tiger behind me by a shot. So there was VJ was there, VJ and Sergio. So it was a pretty strong field going into the last day. So my expectation that day was finishing third. That's what I cared about. And then after about 6 holes, my good friend Retief, in actual fact, we had lunch together. We were that close before the last round. So we're sitting there having lunch
On
and
the
talking about
Sunday.
on the Sunday. Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
we're in the players' lounge just talking about stuff, about we both love cars and we're comparing cars. What do you have right now, Retief? What do you have in Cambo? Kind of thing. Talking about our families. Our families know each other. Our wives know each other. Our kids know each other. So it was just general chit chat, nothing too serious, nothing about golf. And as I walked away from that lunch with Retief, with Goose, I thought, he's got this, he's got this. So that's when I decided to kind of cement that third placing in my mind and go there and play. And then all of a sudden, after 6 holes, T fell away. He was having a disaster, and so was VJ, and everyone else was falling apart. And then after 6 holes, I'm leading the golf tournament because, as you know, there's a leaderboard on every hole, and I saw my name go up and Retief go down, VJ go down, and all of a sudden I see another name, Tiger Woods, come up behind me. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. So and all of a sudden it's just with 9 holes to play, just two of us. I think I was one shot ahead with 9 holes to play, and he was playing in front of me. So there's about, I don't know, 50,000 people following him, about 10,000 following me. But every single time he hit a good shot, hit it close, sunk a putt or good chip, whatever, I heard it, because I saw it in front of me. And you got to understand there's a different roar when it comes to a Tiger roar. It's just deafening, and the crowd goes berserk. It's kind of fun to experience that and feel it. You can feel it going through your whole body every time you hold a putt or hit a great shot, whatever it's going to be. So I pretty much saw every single shot unfold in front of me. I remember on the 10th hole, his playing partner had it left into some trouble, so he had to get it ruling. So he was staying there for 15 minutes on the tee box on the 10th hole, 9 holes to play, one shot ahead in a major against from the GOAT. He just won Augusta 2 months before. He won 10 or 11 majors by then. He was just flying. I mean, that era of from 97 to 2008 or 2009, 10 good years, he was winning everything, right? And I remember standing on that tee box waiting for the guys in front because it's par five, you had to wait. And his playing partner was having trouble. And, 10 minutes seems like 10 hours. So that's when I learned through the years, 10 years of learning of just trying to occupy your mind with positive stuff. So I remember reading a book on Bruce Lee book, and he goes on about the water, energies like water going flowing through your body, filling your mind up with positive thoughts. And so I visualized empty glass and filling up all positive thoughts with that until it overflowed. But there was one sentence that really came, I don't know where it came from. I have no idea. No psychologist taught me this, but it was something like, see this as an opportunity, not a threat. As soon as it was so powerful for me. When I said that to myself, I was so relaxed. And I thought, just enjoy it. Enjoy this moment because it won't come along too often or too frequently. So, and I played some of the best golf of my life. I think I've birdied 3 holes. He had, yeah, 3 or 4 birdies, I think. And I can't remember exactly, but it was great because he was birding a hole, I birdied a hole. We were like in like a boxing match, it was kind of cool. And yeah, so that's how it kind of unfolded. But the fourth thing he did was after I signed the card as officially I won the US Open. So there was a presentation of the trophy and it was on the 18th green. And in the previous, see on TV, there's no second or third place, just number one, the winner of that tournament. In all majors, right, you see the presentation of the Carrot Jug or the Watermaker Trophy or Augusta or US Open. There's only number one, there's only the winner. But he was there with me, shoulder to shoulder. So I turned to him, I said, Tiger, what are you doing here? You know what he said to me? He said to me something that I'll never forget, to show you my respect. I thought, wow, that's cool. To have the goat say those things to me. It's my biggest moment in my whole career to receive my first major championship, winning the US Open. I'm just like euphoria, I was like, I don't know where I am. My mind's just going crazy. And he stood next to me. So anyway, about 6 weeks later, I saw Stevie Williams. Stevie obviously is from New Zealand and caddy for Tiger at the time. I said, yeah, I can't believe that Tiger was there next to me at the presentation. He goes, yeah, and now I know why. And he said, yeah, I shared your story with them, the humble beginnings coming from, a sheep farm. So obviously him and I have are connected in that way. He went through the same kind of thing. It was very hard to get on golf courses sometimes because, back in the 70s and 80s, it was unheard of for a Māori person to play golf. So, I used to change my shoes, outside in the car park, very similar to Tiger kind of thing. So that's where that connection was made. And that's why he was there for me. So I'll never forget that. I mean, to have him next to me and to share that moment with me was truly, truly mind-blowing.
Game, recognised game, fair to say they're one of the absolute all-time greats in Tiger Woods, paying his respects. And, it's fair to say, Michael, that not a lot of golfers bring that aura to the links out there on the golf course, but, you would famously rock the black and white New Zealand colours, the black pinstripes. It's quite a, Batman-ish, intimidating look on Sundays. You were never going to take a backwards step. And I absolutely loved about, watching you play with that kind of mindset. You're walking up the 18th. You've got a couple of shots, I guess, of a cushion to taking out that US Open. Does it start to sink in as you're making that third shot up onto the green? I think you went 21 for 31 in scrambling, or are you still just worried about the task at hand saying, look, let's just get this into the house and we'll celebrate once we lift that trophy?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, actually. You're always going to jump ahead, right? Always jump ahead and think about the future. And I think you start thinking about consequences. It's important you keep in the present. It's very simple because the present is the point of power, I think, and this when you can influence what's going to happen in the future. Anxiety is all about the future. It hasn't happened yet, right? So it's all about just doing simple things like deep breathing, trying to get back in the present, looking around, like it's called locationals, where you look around and see where you are and make sure you don't jump ahead too much. But people don't realize that even my third shot, I had like 80 something yards for my third shot on a par four. I hit it in the rough. So you got to realize back in the day, it was very, very thick. You couldn't hit it out of the rough. So I had a good drive, just missed my fairway by 2 or 3 yards. I had to chip out sideways. So I had 80 yards. But people got to realize that 5 yards over the back of the green is out of bounds. So, yeah, so you can't really see that on TV because it goes kind of up, then goes down, down a hill towards out of bounds. Although it was, I had 80 yards to the pin, if I thinned it slightly, if I fatted it
Did
into the
that
front
did
of the,
that enter the chat, Michael? Like, is that going through the mind? You're there with your caddy. You ended up zipping it to about a foot, 2 feet away, make the bogey, you win the tournament. But do these thoughts go through your mind as you're getting ready to win a US Open? I know they would for me.
no, because for me, I had a process because I knew that 80 yards is 50 yard to green wedge. I use a clock system, grip it down 2 inches from the top of the grip, and then swing it my left arm to 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock through. So I knew, once again, you go through a process like anything you do in life. You go through a process, where you do a mathematical equation. There's a process to do that. Same with golf. If you have a process, it keeps you away from the actual end result. It keeps you in the now or the present time. So all I thought about was my process. Take it back this way, grip down the club, Yeah, so it's just basically I had to do those triggers to get away from don't fat it or don't thin it out of bounds. Of course, those thoughts come to your mind very quickly, but the quicker you squash them, which I did on that occasion with very high, a lot of pressure around, but it wasn't really pressure. I really people say it's like in slow motion. People say that you're almost floating across the fairways. What I felt that day was that completely. I was in control of everything. It was such a powerful, amazing feeling.
You get it done. You win the 2005 US Open on one of the toughest courses. I think we've only had maybe 8 majors since that have finished even par or over par. That tells us all we need to know. Tiger pays his respects. You lift the trophy. How do the celebrations look after the fact? Does everything get a little easier, or does it bring in more challenges now being a major winner?
That's one thing that no one prepares you for is the aftermath of a major championship win. I remember maybe for a year, a manager used to come to my house and with an A4 paper, 4 pages of requests. It gets crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, I really admire these busy people, with rock stars, movie stars, sports stars, whatever, how they do it, how they manage it, because it was too much for me. But what I really enjoyed was I said, I'm going home. I want to share my success with my people and show these young kids back home that anything's possible. And I said, I need 10 days off my schedule. And my manager said to me, I had a PA as well, 3 managers kind of thing. And they said, there is no 10 days, Michael. You haven't got 10 days. I said, no, Derek, I'm going home for 10 days. I went home and did a homecoming tour, and it was crazy, absolutely crazy. I can't remember most of it because a complete blur with stuff going on. But I wanted to go home, and I went to all the different schools around New Zealand. I'm not sure what you call it, but it's called low decile areas, you know what I mean? By that. And I really enjoyed that moment of just these kids, New Zealanders, young kids who look like 10, 12 years old or 8 years old, look at me going, wow, you can really do this? I said, yeah, it's possible, man. If you just dream, it could be anything, to be an engineer, or it could be a scientist, could be whatever, politician or any other sport. I just wanted to inspire them. That's why I went home. And I remember they organised a ticky tape parade in Wellington, really Main Street in Wellington. It was during lunchtime, so it was like 100,000 people turned up, throwing streamers from the top of the office buildings. It was just incredible. Excuse me. And after the event, I was talking to the organizer of the ticky tape parade, and I said, "Oh," so my ego kind of kicked in. I said, "That must be the biggest one you've had." And he goes, "Oh no." I said, "What? Which one is the biggest one you've organised?" He goes, "Oh, the Beatles." So okay, I'll take second to the Beatles, right?
Hey, that's not bad. You can beat out Tiger Woods second to the Beatles. What happens to the trophy, Michael? Do you get a replica? Does it stay in your possession for the next 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, the actual trophy itself is you have it for 12 months, 11 months actually. So you got to take it back next because was it Wingfoot? Wingfoot was the next one. So I had it for 11 months. Very strict policies. You can't lend it out to anybody. You've got to keep it at home. You can't travel with it. But yeah, so I've got one now. I'm looking at it right now over there by the chimney. It's 90%. of the size, but yeah, it's kind of special.
Major champion Michael Campbell. Great stuff. Mike, looking at the current game, we talk a lot about some of the Scotty Schefflers, your Roy McIlroys. How do you find your game would stack up, in today's modern era?
Oh, no chance.
Really? Is it a distance thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. Look, I can take them on from 7-9 downwards. That's no problem. But, they hit it at least 40 yards, 50 yards past me easily. So that's 5 different clubs. So that's difference of 5 clubs. So they'll be hitting wedge in, I'll be hitting 5 on in. And as you know, the dispersion is less when you have a shorter club in your hands. Do I like it? I think it's entertaining to see these guys hit it 320 in the air. But I'm old school. I grew up with Seve, grew up with Sandy Lau, grew up with Norman and Nicky Price and Woozy, and they used to shape the ball. And obviously, it's the equipment, it's the driver, it's the ball, it's technology, the knowledge of the players, the knowledge of the coaches now, their PTs, personal trainers. But the thing is, it's like any sport in the world, it evolves. Look at all sports across the board. Everyone's stronger and faster because they find little 1%ers, little tweak here and there to make you a little bit faster, a little bit stronger. Same with technology, with the golf ball, with the driver. The manufacturers now are finding out new stuff with the shafts, and so yes, I mean, I don't really watch golf on TV. Only when a friend of mine's doing well, but it's a different game. Different game. If you ask, I'm quite friendly with most of the All Blacks who are retired now, and I asked the same question to them. And they said, no, there's no way they'll keep up because the fitness is so different. It's the same with golf as well.
Just a different beast. Mike, before we jump into some, rapid fire questions to get you out of here, looking back to your illustrious career, was there a player, mentor, coach that you can really attribute to having, I guess, that biggest influence on Michael Campbell's career, not only, going through the amateur ranks, but as a professional going on to win a major?
I couldn't pinpoint one person, but there's a combination of a lot of people that helped me along the way, like Mel Tung, who taught me from 16 to 21. He was a great mentor for me. I needed to grow up very quickly. I was a little shit. I was mischievous. Mel helped me a lot, Mel Tung, my first coach. Obviously, my parents kind of guided me in the right direction as well. Well, there's so many people, I can't pinpoint just one. It's a combination of a lot of wonderful people that supported me. And Jonathan Yarwood, my coach now, I've been coached by him for the last 30 years, I think. There's a ton of people.
Takes a village.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for example, like when I hold the paddle last tour at the US Open, I raised my hands towards the heavens and I thanked everyone who helped me along the way, and also to all those, we call them tupuna, people who passed on before me. You couldn't see it, but I knew they were there in some sort of capacity, and I was thanking them as well. There's hundreds of people along the way. I was heading in the wrong direction when I was 13, 14 years old. Something happened. I'm very shameful to even speak about it. And then someone pulled me aside and said, look, Michael, you're wasting your time there with good golfer. I crack him. Yeah, and it worked out. So, that person was Ken Douglas. I'll never forget that conversation. Yeah, so I can't just, give one example. There's so many.
Special journey, Michael, and the book. It's not even close to being done. So before we get you out of here, I want to throw some rapid fire questions at you. First thought that comes to mind. We'll have a bit of fun and get to know Michael Campbell a little better and his current thoughts on the game.
I don't like these.
Hey, because you got to think on the spot. It's it's just instincts.
Okay.
No thoughts. All right, let's have at it. Dubsy's Dimes. Best swing in pro golf right now.
Aaron Scott. Easy one.
One word to describe your win in the US Open over Tiger Woods.
Unbelievable.
US Open untold story. Did anything not go wrong the week of that major? Did you miss a car shuttle, forget the clubs?
Well, yeah. I was wearing a different shirt on the Sunday. It was like a kind of bluey color, steel or something like that. Anyway, so I was having breakfast, and because my last shirt I had to wear, because I kind of like time it, and so I was having breakfast, and don't laugh, I have tomato sauce on my scrambled eggs.
Stop it.
Exactly, I know. Sorry, guys. So I was eating my scrambled eggs. This is the morning of, so I got changed. I went to the gym, got changed. I'm ready to go. Eating my scrambled eggs. And all over my shirt. I'm
Oh
like, man.
no. Oh no.
So I had to rush back to the hotel room, and so I got a one that I wore in the last round that I wore on Monday. So it's pre-war, but yeah, that's one story. There you go.
You're kidding. So Michael Campbell, rewind golf shirt going into the final round of the US Open, beats the red cat in the red, repping New Zealand black and white. Look, that's fate. You love to see it. All right, Michael, taking it to current times, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. If you had to bet the house on one of them to get it done, who do you put at the top of the list right now?
Well, I think Rory right now, because he's found his newfound his motivation back. After he won his Grand Slam last year, for like 6 months he went missing because he felt that he completed everything that he could complete in his mission in his life, and that's to win the Grand Slam. He did that. And then he won again, obviously, this year. And I can see in his body language and his interviews now, the last 3 or 4 weeks, that he's found this newfound motivation to win double figures. But then you got Scotty Scheffler, who's up there every single week. And for consistency, I'll take Scotty. But for winning the next major championship, I have to pick Rory, because just the way he's been talking right now. You can tell by the words he's using. You can tell by the way he's got that look again, the look of hunger. As I said before, it went missing for 6 months, but now it's back again. So I think this is my prediction. I think that Rory's going to win another major before Scotty does.
Wow. Okay. I like it. Michael Campbell, we're going to keep you to that. Maybe at the back end of 26, into 2027. We're talking the best golfers, best golf courses around the world. If you had one final round, where are you playing?
Tairiti in New Zealand.
In the homeland.
Played it. Yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah, when I go back there, I go back home once a year, and every time I go home, I always go up to Auckland. My parents are in Wellington. I'll go to Auckland and play one round at Tairiti or Tiari, north and south. One's next to Tairiti, but those three golf courses are amazing.
You're based in Spain now. What's, I guess, number one thing that you miss most about the homeland back there in New Zealand?
Hangi. Hangi, a boil up, the lamb, it's the food. Obviously, my family and my friends, that's a given. Just meat pie, miss the meat pie.
Stop it, getting me
Yeah.
hungry. With a bit of sauce, just like the scrambled eggs at the US Open. Only a couple more here for you, Mike. Number one swing tip that you'd give beginners. I know you still work with a lot of amateur golfers. What would be that number one bit of advice?
Swing your swing. The most important thing that I see all the time, which you can't replicate, is people jump online, and it winds me up so much. Jump online, go to YouTube or Instagram or whatever, any platform, and got this guy, John Smith, talking about who won last week. To improve your golf, you've got to move like this. Well, I'm sorry, you can't move like that. There's only 0.1% of the 1% in the world can move like that, because that's their job. They train every day, they play golf every day. They're strong, they're fast, they're mobile, they're flexible. So why try and emulate someone like Rory? It's like telling Rory to swing like John Rahm. It's like telling John Rahm to swing like Scotty Scheffler. You can't. You got to swing your swing. Everyone's made up differently physically. Long arms, short arms, long legs, whatever, long torso, short torso. Forget that stuff. Just go out there and see your local professional coach and just work with him. And, I hate it when they have a split screen, Rory or whoever, Colin Kara, Bryson, and put your swing next to it and compare the two swings together. That's just a load of horse shit.
I used to put mine next to Michael Campbell, trying to
No.
stack us up side by side. Mike, I've only got one more for you. Outside of tournament accolades, looking back to your career, and again, career not done, but where you are at this point in time, what are you most proud of, from being a kid to a teenager to a young 20s, international travel, facing it all for the first time, going through the highest of highs, the lowest of lows? What are you most proud about yourself of, taking a look back at it?
Changing people's lives, giving these young kids the belief that they can do it. And that's one thing that my grandmother installed in me when I was very, very young. I was 10, 11 years old. She's a very wise woman, incredible person, very knowledgeable about this stuff. And she would sit me down 2 or 3 years, even longer than that maybe. And I was 10, 11 years old, saying to me, Michael, one day you're going to do something special in your life. I can see your future. And don't forget, I'm 10 years old thinking, okay, this is a little bit hocus pocus, what are you talking about, grandma? Because I didn't really play golf then. She goes, no, I can see the future, Mark. You're gonna change people's lives. You can do something really, really special. And I had no idea what she was talking about until now. But she said to me one thing: "You're born with two hands." And I said, "Okay, yeah, of course we are. And of course, I'm 10 years old." She goes, "One to receive, one to give back." And I'll never forget that. And I thought, one to receive. She goes, "Yeah, you're going to receive lots of wonderful things in your life: friendships, love, kids, and also," she mentioned, the influence to influence people. But when you do that, you've got to give back to the people. So that's why I came home. So as soon as I won the US Open in '05, I looked towards the heavens and said, okay, now I know what you're talking about. So that's when I went home for those 10 days because of her. And yeah, that was pretty powerful.
I'll tell you what, Michael, it's been some journey, some story. You're an inspiration, not just for the Kiwis, but for all of us Aussies. I remember back in the day seeing what you achieved and thinking, hey, anything's possible, whether it's in golf, another sport, whatever space. It just gives you that belief in yourself that you can do it on the biggest of stages. So on behalf of a lot of us, I appreciate you, Michael. I thank you for making the time coming on here today for All American Mates, and absolutely excited to watch out how the rest of the story unfolds for yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Dos.
Thanks, Mike.
Cheers, mate.